Hey, what's up, everyone? So another day back on the cheap Jeep. Lovely, almost 100 degrees in the garage, so that's awesome. Today is a big one, so I did kind of get a little bit lost in the sauce and forgot to record how I fixed the transmission crossmember mount. So essentially, all I did was I was able to find some pretty thick bolts or nuts that match the original ones, the thread pitch, and I was able to weld them on the inside of the frame before I put the floor pan in. The floor pans are in. I did my best to weld it all the way around, spot weld it similar to before. Same with the passenger side. So now we can get to doing the seat mounts, but there is one issue. The seat mounts before were threaded, so this is the original seat mount for the driver's side. That's Garbaggio. But they're not threaded. So what I did was went and picked up some nuts and just gonna go ahead and just weld around them using the bolt to hopefully hold it square and also maintain its shape so those don't get distorted in any kind of way. And then picked up some primer, some rust sealant as well. Let's see if I got it. So some rust fix. So if there's any kind of like rust left over, spray it with this, spray it with some primer, and then some undercoat or some paint, brake parts cleaner, and a transmission, oil pan filter, and gasket, and some RTV, because the transmission is looking pretty bad. So it's been dripping like crazy and it's been driving me mad. So I'm gonna go ahead, drain that transmission, pull the pan, straighten it out. I think it's the dent. Hopefully it's not cracked. Hopefully it's just the bolts and the gasket that went bad, because it's essentially spilled all the transmission fluid all over outside on the street where I had it parked and inside my garage. So I've been cleaning it up just constantly, just all the drips, and it's been getting really annoying. So I think it's about time I fixed it. Also got new fluid for it, so this thing will have a fresh transmission tune-up. And after that, this thing should be pretty solid. After that, now we can actually focus on the fun parts. Mainly wrapping up those frame stiffeners on the passenger side, because I've yet to install that one. And do some kind of a front end lift on this thing, because these 33s do not like clearing whatsoever, especially on stock suspension. So I do need to get some kind of spring for it to lift it up. And I do have these heavy duty control arms that I really want to run, so I don't want to buy a full kit. I'm hoping maybe like the marketplace gods will smile upon me and I can find some cheap like 4.5-inch springs front and rear, and then I can just run my control arms. So yeah, so that's the plan for today, is get everything buttoned up so this thing runs and drives again, go test drive it, and hopefully seam seal it if I go and buy some seam sealer, because I totally forgot to buy that. So all right, first step, let's go ahead and get these brackets fabbed up or prepped and drilled out. That way we can spot weld them in again and get them on the Jeep. Okay, cool. So I kind of already prepped everything and already welded one side just to kind of show you how it kind of turns out. So how I did it was, after I drilled out all the holes in the bracket, I go ahead, bolt the seat up. I did leave one stud in, and then this rear hole still needs a nut welded to the bottom side, so I still got to do that. So in the front, so I kind of use it to kind of just help me line it up. I give it 1 or 2 tacks, just enough to hold it in place, and then after that, I remove the seat, burn her in, and then it should kind of come out like something like that over there. I did kind of go overboard. I stitched welded along the sides. I even rosette welded it all over the place. Anything to verify that this seat bracket is not going to come out in an event of an accident or anything like that. So I'm making sure it's as strong as possible. Not going to give me any issues in the future. And then if you guys haven't noticed, I did buy myself a welding jacket, so or a welding shirt. Just keep the sparks off of me, because those suckers hurt. But all right, so gonna go ahead, burn this guy in, and I think we should be done with the seats after this. So after that, it's time to seam seal it, but I don't have any seam sealer today, so I'm probably gonna have to wait till later tonight to seam seal it and paint it. But for now, I'll burn this in and see if maybe if I'm not, you know, if I'm in the mood, I'll drive down back to the auto parts store and pick up some seam sealer. Seam seal all the welds. Anywhere where water can intrude, I'm going to go ahead and just seam seal it all. And then just paint over it with some kind of like bed liner paint that I picked up. So, or undercoating. I'm going to undercoat the inside and the bottom side. It'll be 100% leak proof. So not only is it going to have that seam sealer, if there's any pinholes, that rubberized coating should cover it from the top and the bottom. So I'll do all that afterwards. Cool. So let's weld this. Well, sometimes things just don't go as planned. Man, has there ever been a clean transmission service? So this was a great time to find out that the oil pan I've had underneath the Jeep to catch all the drips, yeah, at some point caught on fire and I did not know about it. Lovely. Well, time to clean all that up. Okay, cool. So after fighting with like the worst freaking pipe, so the dipstick in the Jeep is tightened down by He-Man or by the Hulk, so I was not able to remove that bolt, but I was finally able to separate it. So it's a two-piece tube. You do have a, you know, an elbow permanently attached to your pan, but overall everything in the pan looked pretty nice. The gasket was the issue, I believe, because it came out just gross. This pan was definitely over tightened because pretty much every single bolt on, like throughout the whole thing, they were all split. So you can just see pretty much every single bolt way over tightened, which also caused the pan to slightly deform. Let's see if it'll focus. There you go. So you see all these little ridges. I gotta knock all of these back down, re-flatten the oil pan down, and then I should be able to do the final clean and button it up with a little bit of RTV and a fresh gasket, and this thing should not leak anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead, knock down all of these little bumps on this thing and move on. Cool, got the pan all cleaned up, got the new filter in. There's the old filter. So I did toss just a hair bit of RTV. It's not a lot, it's a super thin, just a little bit around, just to kind of like tack up the gasket to the pan and from the gasket to the actual transmission. So this pan was in a little bit of a bad shape, so hopefully that fills in any kind of little gaps that might happen. So I did do my best to flatten everything out. Everything out did come pretty good, but there was, you know, a couple little areas that were pretty bad. So that's why I'm using the RTV. Normally I would not, but in this case I had to. Also, a quick little tech tip: if you have these little straws from your RTV, or not RTV, but from your brake cleaner, shove them in the RTV. So when it dries, you can just take a pair of needle nose pliers, grab it, and yank it out, and then you know, you don't have to fight with this next time you use it. So there you go. Just make sure you put the cap on. And just like that, she's all buttoned up. So next thing that I'm gonna do is let this thing sit for probably overnight, just to really give that RTV, you know, 24 hours to really set, everything dry up, and then I'll go back and maybe give it one more little snug up by hand, because whoever tightened up those transmission bolts definitely did not do them by hand or with a small ratchet, or he was a really big dude. So go check all the bolts again tomorrow, top it off with fluid. I do need to go get more fluid because definitely more than 6 quarts spilled out of that thing. So I'm probably gonna get another 5-quart jug, top off the transmission fluid. Hopefully this thing starts. Do the final sealant of the interior and the underside, and then I think that should be the last of all the fuckery that's going on this Jeep. So we're getting really close, finally starting to see kind of like a little bit of the finish line of this project finally being done. Gonna have to spend a whole day detailing the inside of this thing because it is just gross. Just everything is just covered in rust, dust. So yeah, sucks that I just detailed this thing. Well, hopefully this at least covered up the seat, keeping at least the dust off of that. So give everything a wipe down. Everything should be nice and clean afterwards, and we shouldn't have any more issues. I did order the plug kit for the floorboards. So see on the floors, you got these big old holes as drain holes. I did order the plug kit. I just ordered a basic one from Amazon, so hopefully it fits. If it doesn't, then screw it, tape and some fucking bed liner over it. I don't care anymore. But nah, it's like I'll make sure I seal up the floors pretty good. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this go round. This thing really beat me up today, so it was just, you know, issue after issue after issue, and just like little nuances, especially with that freaking oil pan, was just mad annoying. So yeah, so I'll see you guys later. Hopefully next video I'll have this thing running and driving, and I can go test drive it, and maybe test drive it on the freeway and see if the noise level is considerably lower. And then I'll even try and I think I have some video of how it sounded before, and hopefully the after is much quieter. Even without the carpet, I think it's going to be much quieter. So, deuces.